I was reviewing coastal survey maps at my office when my phone rang. It was my 8-year-old daughter Lily, crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Daddy, they won't let me go to the beach. There's a big gate and a mean lady said we're not allowed anymore." "Slow down, sweetie. What gate? What lady?" I asked, already packing up my things. "The beach path has a gate now. With a lock. And the lady said we need special passes or we're trace something. Trespassing? I'll be right home, Lily. Just wait for me, okay? My name is Alex Morgan. I've been an environmental land surveyor for 12 years, but right now that didn't matter. All that mattered was that someone was keeping my daughter from her favorite place in the world." I rushed home to find Lily sitting on our porch steps, still in her beach clothes, hugging her empty shell bucket. She pointed toward our beach path. Sure enough, a tall steel gate now blocked the way with a sign reading, "Private HOA access members only." This made no sense. We bought this house 6 months ago specifically for the beach access. That was the whole selling point, a place where Lily could collect shells and our family could enjoy sunset walks along the shore. I called our realtor immediately. "Tom, there's a gate blocking our beach access. Was there something about restrictions in our paperwork I missed?" "Absolutely not, Alex. Your property includes beach access rights. That was a major selling point, remember? We specifically discussed it." In our mailbox, I found a notice on HOA letterhead. "For community safety and security, beach access now requires seasonal passes, $350 per family. Apply at the HOA office." When I called the office, a recording stated, "All beach access inquiries must be submitted in writing. Please allow 2 to 3 weeks for response." My wife Jamie got home and found us staring at the gate. "This is ridiculous," she said. "Let's just go talk to the HOA president directly. Patricia Wilson, right?" I nodded, not mentioning my job to anyone in the neighborhood. It never seemed important. Until now. Jamie and I walked down the street to Patricia Wilson's beachfront house. It wasn't hard to spot, the biggest property in the neighborhood with perfectly trimmed hedges and a private property sign on every corner of the lawn. I rang the doorbell and waited. The door swung open to reveal a woman in her 50s wearing a white tennis outfit and pearl earrings. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and she held a small dog under one arm. "Yes," she said, looking us up and down like we were selling something. "Hi, I'm Alex Morgan. This is my wife Jamie. We live down at 427 Shoreline Drive." "The new people," she said, not making it sound like a welcome. "What can I do for you?" "We're here about the new gate blocking the beach path," Jamie said. "Our daughter was pretty upset today when she couldn't get through." Patricia's face hardened. "That's part of our new beach protection program. We've had too many outsiders using our private community beach. The board voted and approved it last month." "But we weren't notified," I said. "And when we bought our house, there were no beach restrictions mentioned." Patricia sighed like we were wasting her time. "The notice went out to all residents. The passes are only $350 per season. It's for everyone's safety." "Can I ask what safety concerns led to this decision?" I pressed. "Overcrowding. Litter. Noise. The usual problems when you have unrestricted access," she said, bouncing her little dog in her arms. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a tennis match in 20 minutes. "Wait," I said. "I'd like to see the HOA documentation showing the beach is community property. Because our purchase agreement indicates we have beach access rights." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "Are you a lawyer, Mr. Morgan?" "No, I caught myself before mentioning my job. I'm just a homeowner who wants to understand why my family suddenly can't use the beach without paying extra." "The beach is HOA property," she said, pulling out her phone to show us a community map. "See? Everything beyond the dune line is common area under HOA jurisdiction." The map looked outdated and something about the property lines didn't seem right to me. "When was this survey done?" I asked. "I don't have time for this," Patricia snapped. "If you have concerns, submit them in writing to the board. Now if you'll excuse me." As she started to close the door, a muscular man in a security uniform appeared behind her. "Is there a problem, Mrs. Wilson?" he asked, eyeing us suspiciously. "No problem, Carl," she said. "Mr. and Mrs. Morgan were just leaving." As we walked away, Jamie whispered, "Did she seriously hire private security for the neighborhood?" "Looks like it," I said. "And something about that map she showed us doesn't add up." "What do you mean?" I shook my head. "Just a feeling. But I'm going to find out what's really going on here." The next day was Saturday, and a sign at the community center announced the monthly HOA meeting at 7 p.m. Perfect timing. I'll watch Lily, Jamie offered. You go find out what's happening with these beach passes. I arrived at the community center at 6:45 p.m. to find the doors locked. A small note was taped to the entrance. HOA meeting moved to Shoreline Country Club members in good standing only. You've got to be kidding me, I muttered. An older woman walking her dog stopped beside me. They won't let you in unless you've paid for a beach pass, she said. I'm Mrs. Gonzalez from down the street. Alex Morgan, I said, shaking her hand. We moved in 6 months ago. Do you know when all this beach restriction stuff started? Right after Patricia became president 3 months ago, Mrs. Gonzalez sighed. I've lived here 20 years and always took my grandchildren to the beach. Now I can't afford the passes on my fixed income. Can they legally do this? Nobody's challenged her yet. Most people just paid the fee to avoid trouble. I thanked her and headed to the country club anyway. Sure enough, a security guard stood at the meeting room door checking names against a list. Name? He asked when I approached. Alex Morgan, 427 Shoreline Drive. He ran his finger down the list. Sorry, you're not a member in good standing. No beach pass, no meeting. That's ridiculous. I pay my HOA dues on time. Take it up with the board, he said, unmoved. In writing. Frustrated, I walked around the building and found a young couple sitting on a bench outside. Got turned away too? The man asked. Yeah. I'm Alex Morgan. Ryan Taylor, and this is my wife Kate. We've been trying to fight this beach pass thing for weeks. Kate nodded. Patricia's turned this place into her personal kingdom. Last month, they approved installing security cameras along the beach path. The month before, they banned beach bonfires. And guess who owns the security company that got the contract? Ryan added. Patricia's nephew. Is any of this even legal? I asked. Ryan shrugged. The HOA has a lot of power, but some of us think she's going too far. There's a rumor she's planning to build some kind of exclusive beach club. With cabanas you can rent for extra fees, Kate added. The next morning I drove to the county records office. The clerk helped me find the HOA bylaws and covenants for our neighborhood. After an hour of reading, I found nothing stating the HOA owned the beach. In fact, the original development plans showed a public easement along the entire shoreline. On the way home, I noticed construction materials being delivered to the beach area. Workers were unloading lumber and concrete near where Patricia had said they were improving the beach access. I parked and walked toward them, only to be stopped by the same security guard from the HOA meeting. Sorry sir, this area is closed for construction. What exactly are you building here? I asked. The new Shoreline Beach Club. HOA members only. He pointed to a sign showing a fancy pavilion with private cabanas. Mrs. Wilson's vision for improving our community. And who approved this construction? The board, of course. Now I need to ask you to leave. As I turned to go, I noticed the guard was wearing a name tag, Carl Wilson, Patricia's nephew, just as Ryan had said. That evening, I sat at our kitchen table surrounded by property documents, deep in thought. What are you looking for? Jamie asked. I'm not sure yet, I said. But something's not adding up about who actually owns that beach. Little did I know the answer was about to change everything. Monday morning, I was back at work reviewing coastal survey maps for a project in the next county over. My colleague Mark dropped a stack of historical surveys on my desk. These might help with that erosion study, he said. I flipped through them, then froze. One of the maps showed the coastal area where our neighborhood was built. It was dated 1978, before the development existed. Something caught my eye. The shoreline boundary markers were different from what Patricia had shown us. Very different. Hey Mark, I called. Can you help me understand something? For the next hour, we compared the historical survey with current county maps. Mark whistled low. Looks like a major measurement error to me, he said. See this reference point? It's off by about 300 feet from where it should be. And with shoreline erosion over 40 years. What would this mean for current property lines? I asked, heart racing. If no one ever corrected it? Mark frowned. Properties might not end where people think they do. You'd need an official survey to be sure. I immediately called the county surveyor's office and requested a property line verification for our home. It would cost $800, but I had to know. 3 days later, a county surveyor named Dave showed up at our house. I watched nervously as he took measurements, checked historical markers, and consulted satellite data on his tablet. Well, Mr. Morgan, Dave said finally, I've got some interesting news for you. He showed me his findings on a digital map. According to the original deeds and accounting for shoreline changes, your property line doesn't end at the dune as you thought. It extends all the way to the mean high tide line, about 300 feet of beachfront. I stared at him. Are you saying? I'm saying you own a significant portion of what's currently being used as the community beach. And based on these measurements, your neighbors on either side own the rest. The HOA doesn't own any of it. My mind raced. The gate. The passes. The construction. What about the construction they've started on the beach? Dave frowned. If it's on your property and you didn't authorize it, that's a problem. A big one. After Dave left, I called my neighbors whose properties supposedly included beach portions according to the survey. The Harises to our left and the Jacksons to our right. I invited them over that evening without explaining why. When they arrived, I spread out the survey results on our dining table. According to the county surveyor, the three of us actually own the entire beachfront. The HOA has been operating on our private property without permission. Mrs. Harris gasped. You mean that woman is charging people to use our beach? Mr. Jackson looked stunned. And building structures on our land without consent? Exactly, I said. And I think we need to do something about it. We agreed to keep this information quiet while we consulted a property attorney. I found one specializing in land disputes, Angela Ramirez. The next day she confirmed everything. This is open and shut, Mr. Morgan. Based on these surveys and property records, the HOA has been trespassing and conducting unauthorized commercial activity on private property. So what do we do? Document everything, she advised. Every HOA communication, every construction activity. We'll need evidence before we confront them. I installed a discrete camera overlooking the beach construction from our back deck. Over the next week, I recorded workers pouring concrete foundations for what looked like a substantial structure, all on my property. Meanwhile, I discovered Patricia had assessed homeowners an additional $50,000 for the beach improvement project. The construction company? Wilson Contracting LLC, owned by her brother Robert. The Harises, Jacksons and I formed a plan. We'd wait until Patricia's big moment, the beach club preview event scheduled for the following Saturday, before revealing the truth. What Patricia didn't know was that she wasn't just trespassing on some random homeowner's property. She was building an unauthorized structure on land owned by an environmental land surveyor who knew exactly how to prove it. And I was about to show her just how big a mistake she'd made. Saturday evening arrived and Patricia's exclusive beach club preview gala was in full swing. White tents stood on what I now knew was my property. Waiters in bow ties served champagne to guests in formal attire. A string quartet played near the newly built wooden deck extending toward the water. I adjusted my tie and checked my pocket for the documents Angela had prepared. Ready? Jamie asked, squeezing my hand. As I'll ever be. The Harises and Jacksons met us at the edge of the event. We'd also invited County Commissioner Davis, who oversaw coastal development permits, and Sheriff Roberts, both attending as special guests who knew what was coming. Patricia stood on a small platform in front of a blue ribbon stretched across the entrance to the new beach club building. She tapped a microphone. Welcome everyone to the future of Shoreline Estates. After years of unrestricted beach access causing erosion and safety concerns, we've created an exclusive amenity that will enhance our property values and community standing. People applauded. I noticed Mrs. Gonzalez and several other residents watching sadly from a distance, beyond the security perimeter. For just $500 per season, members will enjoy private cabanas, beverage service, and security to ensure our beach remains pristine and exclusive. Patricia beamed as she raised a pair of oversized scissors. And now, it's my pleasure to officially open the Shoreline Beach Club. I stepped forward, walking calmly toward the platform. Excuse me, Patricia. I need to speak with you before you continue. Her smile faltered. Mr. Morgan, this is a private event. If you don't have an invitation. It's about the location of your beach club, I said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Patricia's smile became strained. Security, please escort Mr. Morgan out. Carl stepped forward, but Sheriff Roberts intercepted him. I'd hold off on that if I were you, son. What is this? Patricia demanded. I pulled out the survey documents. This structure you've built? It's on my property. The beach you're charging people to access? That belongs to me and my neighbors, not the HOA. Murmurs spread through the crowd as Patricia's face reddened. That's absurd. The beach is community property. It always has been. Actually, no. I unfolded the large survey map. There was a measurement error in the original development plans. The county surveyor confirmed it last week. My property extends to the high tide line, as do the Harisa's and Jackson's properties on either side. Commissioner Davis stepped forward. I've reviewed the documents, Mrs. Wilson. Mr. Morgan is correct. The HOA has never owned this beachfront. These are obviously forged documents, Patricia sputtered, her composure cracking. This is an attempt to sabotage all my hard work. Angela Ramirez joined us, introducing herself as our attorney. Everything has been verified and recorded with the county, Mrs. Wilson. You've constructed a commercial building on private property without the owner's permission or proper permits. Not to mention charging residents for access to private property, Sheriff Roberts added. Patricia looked desperately around the crowd. Many guests were already backing away. Board members were suddenly very interested in their shoes. This is just a misunderstanding, she insisted. The board approved everything. The board approved construction on property the HOA doesn't own, Angela clarified. That's a significant legal problem. Patricia's face contorted with rage. You think you can come into our community and change the rules? Do you know who I am in this town? I stepped closer. I know exactly who you are, Patricia. And now everyone else does too. She jabbed a finger at my chest. Security? Remove them immediately. Carl hesitated, looking between Patricia and the sheriff. Carl, I said calmly, you're currently attempting to remove a property owner from their own land. Think carefully about your next move. The moment hung in the air. Then Patricia made her final mistake. I'm cutting this ribbon. This beach club is opening tonight. She raised the scissors again. Mrs. Wilson, Sheriff Roberts said firmly, if you cut that ribbon, you'll be willfully trespassing after being notified. I'll have to place you under arrest. The scissors dropped from her hands. Patricia Wilson, Queen of Shoreline Estates, had finally met her match. The fallout was swift. An emergency HOA meeting was called for the following Tuesday evening, and this time, it was held at the community center with every resident invited. The room was packed. People stood along the walls and spilled out into the hallway. Patricia sat alone at the front, her usual supporters nowhere to be seen. Board member Thomas Chen called the meeting to order. In light of recent events, we need to address some serious issues regarding beach access and the beach club project. A financial audit had been initiated, and the preliminary findings weren't pretty. Thomas projected a spreadsheet on the wall. The beach improvement project was budgeted at $50,000 from our reserve fund. However, we've discovered that $78,500 was actually paid to Wilson Contracting LLC. Angry murmurs filled the room. Additionally, Thomas continued, we've collected approximately $45,000 in beach pass fees over the past 2 months. Mrs. Gonzalez raised her hand. Will those fees be refunded now that we know the beach is an HOA property? That's one of the decisions we need to make tonight, Thomas replied. Patricia tried to defend herself. Everything I did was for the good of the community. Property values would have increased for everyone with an exclusive beach club. By charging us to use a beach we already had access to? Someone shouted from the back. The board approved everything, Patricia insisted. Board member Janice Williams stood up. Because you told us the HOA owned the beach. You presented outdated maps that you knew were incorrect. That's a lie. Patricia snapped. Janice pulled out a folder. We have emails, Patricia. From the county assessor's office to you, dated 3 months ago, questioning the property boundaries. You buried that information and proceeded anyway. The room erupted in angry shouts. Thomas banged his gavel repeatedly. Order, please. We need to vote on several items tonight. The first vote was whether to remove Patricia as HOA president. The result, 87 in favor, 2 opposed. The second vote was to refund all beach pass fees. Unanimous in favor. The third was to dismantle the partially built beach club and restore the area to its natural state. Again unanimous. As Patricia sat stone-faced, County Commissioner Davis stepped forward. I should inform everyone that my office has issued fines totaling $25,000 for unpermitted coastal construction. Additionally, the environmental impact assessment shows damage to protected dune vegetation that will require remediation. Patricia finally spoke up. The HOA will cover those fines, of course. Actually, Commissioner Davis continued, since you personally authorized construction without verifying property ownership, and did so after being notified of potential boundary issues, these fines are directed to you individually, not the HOA. Patricia's face went pale. Our attorney Angela stood next. My clients, the Morgans, Harisas and Jacksons, have agreed not to pursue additional damages against the HOA itself, Provided all beach pass fees are refunded, all structures are removed and the beach is restored. She paused, looking directly at Patricia. However, we are filing a separate civil suit against Mrs. Wilson personally for willful trespass, unauthorized construction, and fraudulent commercial activity on private property. Patricia gathered her papers with shaking hands. This isn't over. I have connections in this town. You'll regret this. As she stormed toward the door, Sheriff Roberts stepped in front of her. Mrs. Wilson, I have a warrant for your arrest on charges of fraud, misappropriation of funds, and filing false documents with county offices. The room fell silent as the sheriff read Patricia her rights. Her final glare in my direction could have melted steel, but I just watched calmly as she was escorted out. Thomas cleared his throat. Well, I think we have one more order of business. We need to elect a new HOA president. To my surprise, several people called out my name. I raised my hands. Thank you, but no. I think I've had enough HOA drama for a lifetime. Everyone laughed and the tension in the room finally broke. 3 months later, I stood at the edge of the beach with Lily, watching her collect shells in her favorite bucket. The old gate was gone. In its place stood a simple wooden archway with a small sign, Shoreline Beach, please respect nature and each other. It had taken 6 weeks to remove Patricia's half-built beach club and restore the dunes. The Harises, Jacksons, and I had worked with a coastal conservation group to replant native grasses and create a proper path that would prevent erosion. Patricia had been released on bail but faced multiple felony charges. Her house sat empty with a for sale sign that had been there for weeks. As it turned out, real estate disclosures requiring mention of ongoing legal disputes made selling difficult. The HOA had undergone a complete transformation. The new board, led by Thomas Chin, had rewritten the bylaws with resident input. Quarterly meetings were now held on Saturdays so working families could attend. Decisions were transparent, and financial records were available to all homeowners. Mrs. Gonzalez walked by with her grandchildren, waving as they headed to the shore. The young Taylor couple spread a blanket nearby for a picnic. People were enjoying the beach again without fear or restrictions. Jamie joined us, carrying a cooler for our own family picnic. Any regrets? She asked, watching the community come together. I shook my head. Not one. Though I do wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been a land surveyor who knew how to check those property lines. Someone else would have figured it out eventually, Jamie said. Bullies like Patricia always push too far. Daddy, look. Lily called, holding up a perfect sand dollar. The beach is happy again. I smiled. Yes, sweetie, I think it is. Later that evening, as the sun set over the water, neighbors gathered for an impromptu community bonfire, something Patricia had banned months ago. Someone brought guitars. Another family shared homemade cookies. As we sat watching the flames, I noticed a car slow down on the road behind us. Patricia Wilson, staring out at the community she tried to control. Our eyes met briefly before she drove away. I didn't feel anger anymore. Just relief that one person's greed hadn't permanently damaged what made this place special. Ryan Taylor sat down beside me, handing me a soda. You know the funny thing? If Patricia hadn't been so determined to take over the beach, no one would have ever checked those property lines. She literally caused her own downfall. I laughed. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting someone face the consequences of their own actions. Well, we owe you a huge thanks, he said. Not many people would have fought back like you did. I thought about that as I watched Lily build a sandcastle with her new friends. Sometimes standing up for what's right isn't just about yourself. It's about everyone who can't or won't fight back. 1 year later, our community thrived. Patricia had moved away after serving 3 months in jail and agreeing to a plea deal with significant financial penalties. Her house had finally sold for well below market value. The beach remained open to all residents. A small voluntary donation box helped fund conservation efforts and seasonal cleanups. I'd been elected to the town's Coastal Protection Committee, using my surveying expertise to help prevent overdevelopment of sensitive areas. Most importantly, every evening when I come home from work, Lily can run down to her beach without any gates, guards, or members-only signs stopping her. That's worth more than any exclusive beach club could ever be.